if that's okay. My name is Mariam. I'm a co-founder of a legal tech startup called Lawformer, which helps SMEs to automate and simplify their contracting processes in order to scale faster. And this session is a collaboration between Lawformer and Puzzle, which is a modern accounting platform based in San Francisco. And we're joined today by Luke and Dasha from the Puzzle team. Hi, both. Just a quick housekeeping note, which I said earlier, please keep your cameras and microphones off throughout the event, as long as you're not a speaker, of course. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll save a few minutes towards the end to answer one or two. And before Luke and myself dive into the discussion on how to automate finance and legal workflows, I'd like to invite Dasha to say a few words. So Dasha, over to you.
Yay! Hello. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much, Mariam. We're really happy to co-host this webinar together. So let me introduce myself shortly. My name is Dasha, and I lead events, community, and partnerships at Puzzle. As Mariam mentioned, Puzzle is a modern accounting software, kind of an alternative to QuickBooks. So if you're looking to get real insights into your business financial health, if you want to be investor ready, if you want to know all the key metrics like revenue, burn, runway, we're here to help. And also, in general, we love supporting founders. If you ever need any help, please feel free to reach out to me or Luke on LinkedIn or over emails. I don't know if Mariam is going to share our contact details, but we are always there for you. Yeah, and also I wanted to say a big thank you to Lawformer. They're not only our co-hosts today, they're also our customers. We love supporting our customers and we love supporting female founders, as Lawformer is also female founded. So thank you so much, guys. And let's go. We have a very important topic today, so I'm honestly super excited about this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dasha, and thank you for helping organize this meeting. And now maybe Luke and I will jump into the discussion. And to kick things off, I thought it makes sense for Luke and myself to quickly explain what our companies do. Dasha was kind enough to do that for Puzzle, but maybe a bit more in detail for you, Luke, and how we're approaching solving certain issues when it comes to finance and legal. Why don't we start from you, Luke? Tell us about yourself, your role at Puzzle, and how are you tackling the problem that you're focusing on at Puzzle?
Absolutely. I'm a CPA, been doing tax and accounting mostly for startups for about 15 years, including being the first accountant at Bench Accounting, and then having my own tax practice for about 5 years, and then even being at Pilot before joining Puzzle. So I've seen almost every way that a startup or business might take into account how to manage their bookkeeping and taxes with any software out there, as well as professional services. And I really have a passion for trying to help make things easier, more approachable, especially in tax and accounting. I know that can be very intimidating. And what I love about what I can do here at Puzzle, which is, an AI native general ledger. So as Dasha mentioned, a full replacement for QuickBooks, and we're leveraging today's technology to help make understanding your financials easier, faster, and, make it more of a superpower as opposed to something that you might be afraid of.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, and we can definitely relate to that at Lawformer. From our side, the mission is pretty similar. We're focused on helping small and medium-sized companies and businesses, especially those with small legal teams, to find smarter and better ways to get legal work done. And having been in the industry for over a decade, we've seen firsthand that in-house legal is often struggling to keep up with the business speed. And one of the key reasons behind that is that legal teams are frequently pulled into the type of work that isn't necessarily legal. So our goal is to empower other teams within the business sales or business teams with the tools and guidance that they need to handle some part of the work themselves, so that they don't have to constantly wait on legal. And maybe I'll give a very specific example from Lawformer to explain that better. So something that we do is called the call to contract tool, which is developed in partnership with Firefly's AI. And what it does is joins meetings, captures key commercial terms that you discuss over calls or emails, and that auto generates the first draft of your contract, which is aligned with your company's internal guidelines and playbook. So now teams outside of legal can handle the early stages of contracting themselves and engage legal in the process only at later stages, which speeds things up. And another thing that we've developed is an AI based contract assistant called Law Firmer AI that helps draft and review and modify contracts based on, again, on your internal playbooks. That means that not only legal teams, it's not just legal teams that can ensure compliance. Other teams can also review routine contracts, especially that doesn't require a lot of legal expertise, and spot potential risk and get suggestions on how to better follow internal standards. So in other words, what you were saying earlier, we're giving businesses their own like digital twin, which can be used for by legal and non-legal people to handle parts of the legal workflow more efficiently. And we're very excited about that. Um, so with that, I hope our people listening now better understand what we do and what Puzzle and Law Firm are trying to solve. And this brings me to my next question, which is a key component of what both of our companies are trying to solve and achieve is to help businesses manage and mitigate risk, right? Um, in a smarter, more scalable, and efficient ways. So, Luke, tell us about that. Walk us through how Puzzle supports its customer through risk mitigation and management, um, and some best practices that you have for doing so.
For sure. I think, accounting is definitely an industry that seems to be slow at adopting change for lots of reasons, in part because we want to make sure that risk is managed, right? So we want to make sure that the books have been reconciled. We want to make sure that everything has been properly categorized and adjustments have been made. We want to make sure that they are reviewed properly at least once or twice before they get sent out to a client. While that is, ideal best practice, it doesn't really work with the way today's technology works. And so what we're really trying to do is give you as real-time information as possible, but while still maintaining a level of assurance on how complete or accurate are these books. So there's always an indication of, has my bookkeeper or accountant reviewed these? Are these books finalized? And there's an indication throughout Puzzle when you're looking at your financials. For example, today is June 18th. So most businesses probably don't have their May financials. So that means, especially if you're a startup who's tracking burn, you don't know what your burn is unless you did a separate calculation based on last month until maybe the end of this month. So that means it's already 2 months old. So not only are your financials over a month old, then your burn, which is what you're using to make decisions about certain things, is a couple months old. So what we're doing at Puzzle is we're showing you a real-time draft of your financials as the month happens. Even today, June 18th, we have a draft of your financials on your dashboard. So that gives you as a business owner more insight and control over how to make decisions throughout the month as opposed to having to wait to the end of the month for the financials, which both of them need to happen, right? We're not saying that an accountant shouldn't be doing their job diligently and reviewing things, but we're really trying to take the pressure off the month-end close by giving the business owner more insights in a real time to their financials.
Wonderful. And you did mention internal review, and we'll focus on that later on, but maybe I'll add briefly from our perspective. Nobody will be surprised if I say that managing and mitigating risk is a big part of legal work and in-house legal work. And at Law Firmer, I'd say our main goal is to help businesses manage those risks by making internal knowledge more accessible and actionable to the entire team. So we're focusing on building a single source of truth for the teams that teams can easily use to keep legal workflows consistent and risk-proof. Again, especially for like routine and repetitive contracts that they have to deal with on a monthly basis. And that way, it's not just the legal team with all the right answers to compliance-related things. The knowledge becomes something that everyone can tap into. And as I mentioned earlier, Law Firm AI reviews and edits contracts based on the company's internal guidelines and playbooks, which is built around pre-approved standards to ensure compliance. And to make this more specific, I'll maybe zoom in on one of the concrete features that we have. For example, one of the things that our AI assistant does is to generate plain language explanations of legal documents or even specific clauses so that non-legal teams can actually understand what a contract says and how it applies to them and what it means in practice. We also offer smart summaries of contracts. For example, you can break down legal document into smaller summaries. You can choose different types of summaries, whether it's clause by clause breakdown, executive summary, risk focus assessment, or even a custom summary if they want to focus on something specific. So again, the goal is clarity and giving people control and agency. And by helping legal teams and non-legal teams better understand what's being written in the contract and agree to, we reduce confusion and improve communication. And ultimately, this contributes to help the whole business manage risk and move forward more confidently, again, without always waiting on legal approval. So yes, that's in a nutshell how we help manage risk. Obviously, there are other features that in a big picture contribute towards risk management, but for the sake of time, I won't focus on those, but we're always open to discussion on what we do and how we help SMEs in that specific aspect. And so we've briefly touched on how we help manage risk, but another big part of what we both try to achieve and focus on at Puzzle and Law Firm is how we help our clients grow and scale faster, right? So let's dive into that a bit. Maybe from your perspective, share how Puzzle uses automation essentially to help clients scale more efficiently.
For sure. Yeah, especially, if you're a venture-backed startup, growth is the key. But even if you're not venture-backed, obviously, you may have different growth goals. So being able to have real-time financials, which is something I mentioned before, is really critical to helping you have the most up-to-date information to make the best decisions. From there, we're trying to automate as much of the manual, repetitive work as possible through smart workflows, including, this might be a little accountant jargony, but how we manage fixed assets as well as prepaids. We're leveraging AI with categorization. So not only is there an AI bot that runs through everything, you can also chat with the AI to help you review the financials and make sure that everything is up to speed. You can ask the AI a prompt about your financials based on the current status of your business, which could then give you an insight into how to, make a different plan of attack to approach how to continue growing. So just the ability to have real-time bank feeds alone is huge in order to have those draft financials, but then also to layer on AI on top of that, along with the smart workflows, the smart monthly checklist, and to be able to collaborate. So I think Puzzle's the first accounting system I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few of them, that is really built for collaboration. You can assign transactions to each other, whether that's you and your accountant or internally, whether it's missing a receipt or you need just more context. You can also use the email workflow and reply in plain language to the email on a transaction to be able to get it categorized. Really trying to meet people where they are with the technology we have today to make this as little, take up as little time as possible so you can focus on growing your business.
Wonderful. I will add to that briefly from our side. As mentioned earlier, at law firm, we're not just about drafting or negotiating legally sound documents, which is an important part of what we do. But one of the biggest things that, most important things that we help SMEs with is making sure that legal doesn't slow down deal cycles. As we've seen over and over, in-house legal teams they often get bad rap for being too focused on risk or taking too long to review contracts or to draft this and that and not approving things quickly enough for business to move forward with this with the deal cycle. And that's a big part of what we're trying to fix. But we're not doing that by asking legal teams to work faster or put in longer hours or hire more people. Instead, we're helping them automate manual things that take time. For example, research shows that legal professionals spend over 20% of their time just looking for things such as contract templates and clauses and playbooks and so on, some notes and memos. Because this information is usually scattered across emails and someone's folders and databases and so on. So we solve that by giving them, as I mentioned earlier, the single source of truth that they can refer to so that they spend less time on admin work and more time doing actual legal work, the kind of stuff that they were trained to do in the first place. Um, And we're not stopping there. We know that deals get often held up by waiting on legal sign off or like some other stakeholders. And so we built in a feature that automatically generates emails that explains the changes that were made in the document by this or that side, or interprets the whole document in plain language, which helps speed up reviews and approvals from non-legal parties, and also creates trust. And at the end of the day, it's all about making legal work not just for legal, but also for everyone in the business, and helping business move faster without losing control is one of the key goals that we are trying to achieve there by automating some of the things that we are automating. Um, so I did touch on this briefly in my answer, and I heard you mention as well. But one of the questions that we often get is whether we are trying to replace like in-house legal professionals.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that you get some of those questions for people working in finance or accounting as well. So I know your answer, but for everyone else to know as well, what is your answer to that question? Is Puzzle trying to replace finance and accounting professionals, or what's your approach?
Absolutely not. I don't think that we're anywhere near the ability to fully replace somebody who understands the context, both of the human and the history of the business, as well as the background of accounting. So, at Puzzle, our focus is really just to arm the accountant with the best tools available. And that, we happen to live in this AI age, I guess. I don't know if there's a term that's already been coined for that, but just like the internet came and changed things, AI is here. It's not going away. And, I think a lot of us have experienced some fluff with it as well. And yeah, it is exciting what the potential opportunities are. But here at Puzzle, we're really focused on improving accountants' lives and improving business owners' lives. And we happen to be using technology to do that. I don't see any future state where Puzzle is fully replacing a bookkeeper or accountant. We don't even do income tax, right? So that's just a huge portion of accounting that is not even considered yet in Puzzle. So uh, I think it's reasonable for people to be afraid or to ask that question. I do think it's also important as you're choosing vendors and providers that you're picking people who are aligned with you on a more of a values basis. And I think that's a very intentional decision we made as a company, which ties into our values of no, we know there's an accountant shortage. We know that accountants are working too many hours and making,
Mhm.
have a lot of stress in their lives because of that. What if we could make a software that actually just makes their lives better and helps them scale better as well?
Absolutely. And being a lawyer is not the happiest profession either, and they do work long hours. So my answer to that question is very similar to yours and actually very simple. No, we're not trying to replace legal professionals. What we are trying to do is help them spend more time doing the work they actually enjoy doing, which is real legal work, and less time on the stuff that they don't. And skills like legal reasoning, interpretation, and communication cannot replaced. And we're very confident in that. In fact, research shows that the number one quality that clients value in assessing whether a legal professional is good or not is their level of responsiveness. It's not how many cases they won and how quickly they deal with the contracts, or how, you know, highly reputable they are. It's how responsive they are. And that's exactly what we're aiming to support, help legal teams and legal professionals be more available, more strategic, more involved in decision making, and free up their time that is currently spent on repetitive and non-legal tasks. So that would be my answer to that question. And maybe let's see if we have any questions in the chat. Everyone, I encourage you to drop some questions in the chat box. We have a few minutes to tackle those. I actually have a couple of questions that were sent to me directly instead of being posted in the chat. So maybe I'll share some of those. First one is, uh, Luke, do you work with companies in highly regulated industries such as healthcare? And how do you put up with the regulation change?
It probably depends specific to the type of healthcare company that you are. I've certainly worked with different PCMSO structures or like health tech. So if there's like a wearable device plus a SaaS platform, we've worked with them quite a bit. Um, my experience has been the biggest problems, confidentiality, HIPAA, but also just billing, right? So we don't have a native billing system in Puzzle, so you would need to use another, I think, electronic medical system for that on top of Puzzle anyway. So I think the workaround would be adding that system that is specifically regulated in your industry for healthcare.
Thank you. That's a great answer. And if you're interested more on specific use cases, I'm sure Luke will be happy to discuss that with you. And the other question was, how are you different from your competitors? This wasn't specifically addressed to you, so I assume that we are both expected to take this. Yeah, I can go first. There's a legal tech market is saturated. There are a lot of companies in the legal tech market. I think one thing that I would say differentiates us from our competitors is that we try to keep it really simple and address the issue that needs addressing. One thing I would say is that differentiates us is that we work directly where lawyers do, which is in Microsoft Word. We work as an add-on, which means that they don't have to learn new systems or train people on how to use Lawformer. It's very easy, very intuitive. I would say 95% of legal documents are drafted and modified in Microsoft Word, and that I don't see that changing anytime soon. That means that we just make it as easy as possible for legal professionals and just meet them where they already do work instead of creating an extra step or making them learn a complicated system. And then I would say another thing is instead of giving them general legal support on how to modify the contracts and spot risks, etc., we'll help them leverage their own knowledge, which is their biggest asset. So whatever the work we do, if we just help them customize and align their work to their internal guidelines and playbooks, which is something that I don't see a lot of companies doing. So instead of generic help, we provide help that's customized and fit to their needs. Yeah, Luke, go ahead, please tell us what differentiates from your competitors. You did mention this briefly at the beginning, but
Sure. One of the biggest things is we're not trying to compete with accountants. We're trying to empower accountants. So there's many other accounting softwares out there who are actually offering competitive services to their accounting partners. So we're not trying to cannibalize our market. We're trying to support the professionals in the field. That's one of the biggest things. In addition to some of the real-time numbers that I mentioned, it kind of turns all of accounting on its head a little bit to give pre-drafted financials, including automated bank reconciliations before the bookkeeper even gets in there. So that way you have more of a pulse on the business as you go. So yeah, we're one of the only accounting softwares that does that, as well as some of the collaboration features.
wonderful. I think we have a couple more questions in the chat for both of you. What is the sweet spot law firm and puzzle in terms of ICP? Yeah, I can take that briefly and I'll let you answer that question as well. For us, as I mentioned earlier, we mainly work with SMEs with very small legal teams for people, for up to 10 people within the legal team. And we work across all industries, but we've been seeing a lot of traction from the automotive industry recently. So that might be something that we'll focus on down the road. But as I mentioned earlier, the law firm provides tools that can be used by in-house legal professionals as well as people from sales and partnership teams within small to medium-sized companies.
Yeah, and I would probably explain our ICP as, anything from a brand new startup, brand new company formation stage, so no bank account yet, or just opening the bank account, on through, probably $10 million range-ish on revenue. So once you're beyond that, you might be looking at multiple entity, multiple currency type stuff, which we don't currently support, but pretty broad range as far as types of industries and entities that Puzzle works well for, but we are focused on the US market, US entities, single currency.
Wonderful. And we have last question from Aaron, which is, do Puzzle and Lawformer offer APIs and integration into other SaaS service companies, and what's the process to go about that? Yes, we're definitely working on integrations. That's a big part of what we do currently. We are integrating with other customer relationship management platforms as well as CLM, which is contract lifecycle management platforms. I think from our side, the process is quite simple. Get in touch with us, and we'll make sure to discuss this with you, and yeah, process smoothly. So, Luke, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our favorite ways to grow, is to partner with other platforms. Mercury, Brex, Ramp, Gusto, Rippling, Deal are some of them that we've built out. But we do have an API. Feel free to email me, luke@puzzle.io. I can help you get in touch with the person who helps manage those relationships. But absolutely, we see that as a huge opportunity to partner with other complementary softwares.
Wonderful. I don't think there are any additional questions in the chat. Um, yeah, so I don't think there are any additional questions in the chats, and we're also approaching the end of our time. I just want to thank everyone for joining this discussion. Thank you, Luke and Dasha, and everyone at Puzzle and Lawformer for your help putting this together. As promised at the start, we will make sure to circulate the recording of this discussion to all of you attending and those who registered but couldn't make it. And we will also make sure that you have contact information for all three of us, myself, Luke, and Dasha, so that you can get in touch with us if there's anything that you're particularly interested in or you would like to have a follow-up discussion. We're always happy to engage with that. So thank you all very much, and looking forward to seeing you next time.